We often see a specific kind of internal gridlock, someone praying fervently for a breakthrough while making zero physical adjustments to accommodate it. This lack of movement is frequently described as patiently waiting on God, as if total passivity is a requirement for spiritual faithfulness. Looking back to the ancient Middle East in the book of Joshua, we find a historical case study that challenges this definition of patience. This map of ancient Israel shows a nation at a standstill. The land has been conquered, yet while 5 of the 12 tribes have claimed their inheritance, 7 sections remain blank. These tribes stayed in camp, doing nothing to secure their designated territory. Joshua eventually confronts them with a piercing question: how long do they plan to delay possessing the land that has already been given to them? Joshua's challenge reveals a divine perspective, where this silence is interpreted as a direct failure to engage with a promise already on the table. It's worth asking why a victorious army would stall when their inheritance was sitting directly in front of them. The historical record suggests the tribes possessed the capacity to move. The bottleneck was a simple unwillingness to expend the effort required for settlement. The text implies that God's promise remained valid and available, regardless of how long the tribes hesitated at the border. In this narrative, the promise of land functioned like this bridge. One side was already secured by God, but reaching it required the tribes to provide the physical mechanism, the actual labor of building the connection to the other side. Relying on continuous prayer while refusing to participate in this process actually stalls the realization of the blessing. Breaking this cycle of procrastination requires a transition into deliberate physical action. Standing paralyzed in front of an open path is like waiting for a door to swing open long after the latch already easily gives way. Joshua's solution was a mobilization order. The 7 tribes had to send men out to physically walk through the unpossessed land and map it into 7 distinct portions. This animated map shows the labor to break the deadlock. These paths represent surveyors physically walking the terrain, dividing the blank spaces into manageable zones. Mobilizing physical effort to survey our circumstances is often the prerequisite for claiming the promise. However, taking initiative does not mean making decisions based purely on personal preference or human judgment. Joshua established a strict boundary in verse 6. The surveyors had to bring their findings back to the camp, but they were forbidden from choosing their own plots. The final decision was made by casting lots before the Lord, a process that determined which territory went to which tribe. This action removed human bias from the equation, ensuring that while the people did the work, God retained the final authority. This 2-part mechanism requires humans to do the exhausting work of surveying the options, while God retains the exclusive right of distribution. This ancient practice informs modern decision-making. When conventional metrics fail to provide a clear path, believers must find ways to let God dictate the final outcome. Gideon followed a similar pattern in the book of Judges, using a fleece to seek divine confirmation and bypass his own potentially flawed judgment. This narrative suggests that many who claim to be waiting on God are actually using spiritual language to camouflage simple indecision or fear. The path forward involves mapping out your circumstances and taking the necessary physical actions while entirely surrendering the final outcome to divine allotment.